Oh, I don't know. I mean, could have come off maybe a couple cemetery tombstones. Maybe the phone book.
Bob Dylan had always been seen as the quiet prophet of American music, the Nobel-winning legend everyone dreamed of teaming up with. But at 83, he shocked the whole world when he dropped a confession nobody ever expected. He admitted he had a secret list of 7 artists he straight up couldn't stand, and the names hit the industry like a bolt of lightning. Some were old collaborators, some were close friends, even a few idols he once praised in public. Yet behind the scenes, he had already cut them out completely. And once you hear how these relationships fell apart, it becomes crystal clear why none of them ever wanted to stand side by side again. And sitting at the very top of Dylan's hate list was the last person anyone imagined, Paul McCartney. Yes, that Paul McCartney, the beloved Beatle everyone thought Dylan admired without question. But the truth was nowhere near as sweet. And once the real story comes out, his reaction suddenly feels way more understandable. The whole issue started back in 1987, long before public feuds became entertainment. McCartney was doing a simple interview, chatting about melodies, pop structure, and how music was changing. Then the reporter casually mentioned Dylan's latest tracks, the darker experimental stuff Dylan had been struggling to shape. Paul gave a quick laugh, shrugged, and dropped a line that cut way deeper than he probably realized, saying, "Bob isn't writing songs people can remember anymore." The comment sounded soft, almost playful, but to Dylan, it didn't feel playful at all. It hit him like a bullet. People forget that Dylan in the mid-'80s wasn't the unshakable legend everyone imagines today. He was tired, fragile, and coming out of a decade full of spiritual confusion. He was trying to rebuild himself. And when one of the most influential musicians on the planet implied his new music didn't have staying power, Dylan felt straight up embarrassed. A close friend later remembered Dylan muttering, "He wanted to be Lennon. He never understood me." That wasn't him trying to act tough. It was Dylan drawing a hard line. After that, everything changed quietly in the background. Plans for a small collaborative tour suddenly vanished. Private hangouts were canceled without a word. McCartney had no clue why Dylan pulled away, but insiders already knew the exact moment the freeze began. Fans kept hoping they'd make peace someday, but people close to Dylan insist the tension never melted. Lennon had been the Beatle he truly respected, sharp, unpredictable, willing to push boundaries. Paul was the opposite, polished, careful, adored, built for charm. And to Dylan, that polished charm always felt a little too staged. Then comes the second name on Dylan's hate list, Eric Clapton, the guitar hero many claimed was trying to take Dylan's crown. The wild part is that Dylan actually liked Clapton at first. There was no long history of beef. The dislike hit fast and sharp, born from one moment Dylan never let go of. People close to both of them still whisper about the night it happened. It was late 1978, inside a cramped rehearsal room in West Hollywood, where the vibe flipped in an instant. A small group of musicians were chilling after a long session, just talking and winding down. Clapton was loose, feeling good from hours of playing, speaking louder than usual. And then he dropped a line that sliced through the room like a cracked bottle. He said, "Dylan is losing his... Someone's got to step in." Everything went silent. One person who heard it later said, "He didn't say it angry. He said it like it was just a plain fact." And that made it even worse. And of course, that fact reached Dylan in less than a day, because in the music world, nothing stays hidden for long. When Dylan heard it, he didn't blow up or show shock. He just nodded slowly. A bassist who was there claimed Dylan spoke only once, almost under his breath, saying, "Funny how people change when they think they're catching up." That wasn't a shot at Clapton's skills. It was a jab at his ambition. The fallout came instantly. A session where Dylan and Clapton were supposed to experiment together suddenly vanished from the schedule. Calls went unanswered. Messages sat ignored. Clapton started asking around, confused, until one engineer finally told him flat out, "Whatever you said the other night, Bob heard it." Clapton eventually tried to fix things during a festival in 1981. He walked toward Dylan backstage with his hand half raised like he was ready to clear the air. Dylan spotted him, clenched his jaw, turned away, and walked off in the opposite direction without a word. Clapton looked completely stunned, like he finally realized this wasn't some mix-up, this was permanent. Joan Baez, the folk queen who once stood shoulder to shoulder with Dylan, ended up becoming one of the deepest cracks in his life. And fans still whisper about what really pushed them from being the power duo of folk to barely speaking for decades. Their fallout wasn't just about music. It was personal, painfully personal, and the spark came from a moment Joan believed was harmless. During the chaotic mid-1960s, while Dylan was reinventing himself at full speed, Joan publicly said that he was turning away from the people who need him. To the world, it sounded like a simple comment about his artistic direction. But to Dylan, it felt like a blade from someone who knew his private insecurities better than anyone else. The real break exploded during Dylan's 1965 UK tour. Joan assumed she'd join him on stage like they always had, bringing that iconic harmony fans loved. But when she showed up, everything felt off. Dylan's team wouldn't give her a performance slot, and Dylan himself kept dodging questions about a duet. A crew member later said Joan finally cornered him in a hallway and asked him, "Are you really shutting me out?" Dylan reportedly replied, "Cold as ice. This isn't your show." It wasn't just rejection, it was straight-up humiliation. A few nights later, Joan realized Dylan wasn't just shifting artistically, he was cutting her out completely. She later said, "He didn't owe me anything except honesty." Dylan never apologized, never explained, and that silence hurt her more than any headlines thrown at them. But even that wasn't the final twist in their story.
Joan didn't keep the pain inside. She took it public, and that changed everything. She spoke in interviews about Dylan losing his way, about him turning his back on activism, and even though she never attacked his talent, she went straight after his integrity. And that was the one thing Dylan protected harder than his fame. People close to him said he felt exposed, almost betrayed, like someone who knew all his private fears had turned them into ammo for the world to hear. He didn't scream about it, didn't throw shade in return. He just erased any chance of working with her ever again. Managers who even hinted at a reunion were shut down instantly. Dylan later said, "She used my doubts to shame me," and that line alone showed how deep the cut went. Their silence stretched for over 40 years. Even when they showed up together during the 1975 Rolling Thunder review, the wound didn't heal. It got more obvious. Cameras caught them smiling, but not connecting, performing together, but without a drop of trust. Then comes Lou Reed, the punk poet who went straight for Dylan's soul. Lou grabbed the 4th spot on Dylan's hate list the minute he opened his mouth in 1974. He didn't go after Dylan's style or his fame. He went at his identity, and that was something Dylan never forgave. The moment that locked Lou Reed onto Dylan's hate list happened during an interview Reed gave while promoting a Velvet Underground project. The journalist casually asked him about Dylan's influence on songwriting, and Reed didn't even blink. He shot out a line that still gets brought up today. "Dylan never meant anything to me." And then he followed it with another hit. His lyrics are smoke and mirrors. People who heard the full interview said Reed wasn't joking, wasn't jealous, wasn't heated. He delivered it with the same cool, flat tone he used when talking about guitar distortion or amp settings. And that's exactly what made it sting even harder. It wasn't personal for Reed, but it became deeply personal for Dylan. When the remarks reached Dylan, he didn't clap back or drop a counterpunch. He went colder. Someone who worked on his 1970s tours said Dylan gave one slow nod and replied, "Let him talk. Silence will answer him." And that silence turned into the feud itself. Dylan erased Lou Reed from his world. No shout-outs, no nods, not even a casual acknowledgement. Musicians who tried bringing up Reed in conversation said Dylan would switch the subject instantly, like flicking ashes off a cigarette without a second thought. The tension only grew under the surface. A decade later, in the early 90s, during a Rolling Stone interview, a journalist casually dropped Lou Reed's name. Dylan looked up, smirked, and asked, "Who?" That wasn't a joke. It was pure dismissal, the kind of dismissal artists fear way more than an insult. Reed heard about it later and reportedly just rolled his eyes, saying, "Of course he said that." But the truth is, Reed felt the sting way more than he ever admitted. And here's the twist almost no fans know. Reed once told a friend that Dylan was too insecure to take me honestly. That line made its way back to Dylan too. And after that, the door between them didn't just close, it was locked for good. Then comes Leonard Cohen, the poet Dylan loved deeply, then resented forever. Cohen holds the 5th spot on Dylan's hate list, and it's easily the most painful one, because this rift didn't come from mockery or competition. It started from pure admiration. Dylan genuinely adored Cohen's writing. He praised him openly, called him the highest level of songwriting, and spoke about him with a softness he didn't give to many people. And that's exactly why what happened next cut so deep Dylan couldn't shake it. The breaking point came quietly in the early 1970s. Cohen was in Paris doing an interview when someone asked him about Dylan's early writing. Cohen paused, smiled politely, thought for a moment, and said, "Dylan's early songs were a bit adolescent compared to the poets I admire." He meant it academically, not as an attack. But context didn't matter, because that single word, adolescent, hit Dylan like a slap. People close to Dylan said he reread that quote over and over, shocked that Cohen, of all people, would say something like that. This wasn't a rival trying to stir drama, wasn't someone puffing up their ego. This was the one songwriter Dylan truly respected on a deeper level, a writer whose lyrics went places Dylan admired. Hearing Cohen downplay his early work felt like hearing a mentor whisper something he was never meant to hear. The message Dylan felt underneath Cohen's comment was simple and brutal. You were never as good as you thought. Years later, during a random run-in in New York, Cohen tried to spark some small talk, but Dylan kept it cool and distant, almost unreadable. Cohen later told a friend, "Bob speaks in riddles." But insiders say Dylan just wasn't willing to reopen a door that had once cut him in a way that critics never could. Their artistic tension only got more tangled with time. When Cohen dropped Hallelujah, Dylan praised it in public and even performed it on stage, giving it real respect, but he never reached out to Cohen directly. And when Cohen complimented Dylan's simplicity of heart in songwriting, Dylan let it slide without a reply. To the world, it looked neutral. But to the people who truly knew Dylan, it was calculated silence. That old wound from the interview never healed, and Dylan wasn't about to pretend otherwise. The distance was intentional, the quiet was sharp, and the respect, while real, never returned to what it once was. So tell me, which name on Dylan's list stunned you the hardest, and which feud do you think deserved a second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit that bell so you never miss another wild, untold story hiding behind music's biggest legends.